You know that silence that falls over the woods just before a storm? It's not peace. It's the forest holding its breath because something is coming.
3 weeks ago, I found a deer in my clearing. It wasn't eaten. It was torn apart, as if by a frail whore, with the strength of a bear. But the most terrifying part? I found a tuft of coarse gray fur caught in the doorframe of my own cache. It didn't belong to a wolf.
It smelled like old copper and wet earth, and it was still warm. My name is Sthefan Wells. Welcome back to Nightmare Chronicles.
Out here, we don't fear the shadows. We fear what's hiding inside them. People in the city think legends are just stories to keep children in bed. But in these woods, legends have teeth. And tonight, I'm going to tell you about the night the moon turned silver, and the neighbor I thought I knew. Hope became the thing I fear most. It started with my neighbor, old Silas. He lived 2 miles up the ridge. A quiet man, a hunter. But lately, Silas had changed. His eyes were bloodshot, and he walked with a limp that seemed to shift from his leg to his arm.
Last Tuesday, I went to check on him. His cabin was a wreck. The furniture was splintered, and there were deep claw marks running across the floor.
4 inches deep. In the center of the room, I found his hunting rifle. It was snapped in half. It was snapped in half like a dry twig. As I turned to leave, I heard a sound. From the cellar, a wet, crunching noise, like someone was snapping thick branches, but there were no trees down there. It was the sound of bone breaking and reforming. I didn't stay to say hello. I ran. I ran until my lungs burned, but the whole way back, I felt it. The gaze of something that wasn't looking for a friend. It was measuring the distance to my throat. The full moon rose that night, huge and pale. I barricaded my door, gripping my shotgun so hard my knuckles turned white. Then the howling started. It wasn't the long, melodic howl of a wolf pack.
It was a scream of agony that turned into a roar of hunger. Something slammed against my cabin wall. The whole structure groaned.
The gypsies. I looked through the gap in the shutters. There, in the silver light, I saw him. Or what used to be him. It stood 7 feet tall, its spine arched like a bow, covered in that same coarse gray fur I found on my door. It had Silas' eyes, the same pale blue, but they were wide, with a mindless, predatory fever. It wasn't a wolf. It was a man trapped inside a nightmare of fur and claw, unable to remember his own name. It stopped at my door. It didn't try to break in. Instead, it started scratching. Not a wild animal's clawing, but a rhythmic, intentional tapping. Tap, tap, tap.
It was the same signal Silas used to use when he wanted to borrow some sugar or tobacco. A chill went down my spine that I haven't lost since.
It was still in there, somewhere. The man was still alive inside the beast, and he was begging to be let in. Or maybe he was Wakad. He was just using what he knew. By dawn, it was gone. But I found a handprint on the window glass. Not a paw, but a hand, long, distorted, with claws instead of nails. I haven't seen Silas since. But every time the moon gets full, I hear that rhythmic tapping on the walls. Pouring. If you're ever in these woods, don't
don't look at the eyes. And for God's sake, keep your lights on. This is Sthefan Wells for Nightmare Chronicles.